Good evening, everybody. This is the regular meeting of the Fairhaven Historic Preservation Commission. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act at the time of the board reorganization in January of this year. The board adopted its regular meeting schedule for the year. Notice of the schedule was sent and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 26th, 2024, and noticed to the Two River Times on February 7th, 2024. That notice was also posted on the bulletin board in Borough Hall and has remained continuously posted there as required by the statute. A copy of the notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the Borough Clerk. A copy of the notice has also been sent to such members of the public as have requested such information in accordance with the statute. Adequate notice having been given, the board secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of the meeting. Can we have a roll call?
Mr. Pavlik?
Here.
Mrs. Drummond?
Here.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mrs. Mullen? Mr. Schluter?
Here.
Mrs. Prisora?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Okay, so we'll dispense of the old business and we'll get right to the new business. We do have an application and council is here for 775 River Road, Block 49, Lot 3. Come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Brooks Von Arts, and I appear on behalf of the applicant tonight. With me is architect Mr. Monroe, who I'm sure is familiar to all of you, and the principal of the applicant, Mr. Dubois. This property is at 775 River Road, and we don't quite know how old it is. Mr. Monroe thinks that based on his observation of the way in which the building was originally built and has been added onto over the years, maybe somewhere in the range of 1900, give or take. We don't really know for sure. It's a newer building than, let us say, my office building, which is the 1860s. In any event, it's a very attractive building, and I think if you look at the proposed plans for renovation, they'd be very attractive to you. Without further ado, I'd like to ask Mr. Monroe to kind of give us a general idea as to what changes the applicant intends.
So basically, the first floor of the store was retail, and there was a stair. There's 3 doors straight ahead when you walked in. You went right up the stair to an office, which was at one time a residence, and then there was 2 stores either side. So originally, this porch, you can see the original columns were there, probably an 8-inch round column. There's 3 equal bays in the front. It's been enclosed over the years. They added lattice in front of it. They kind of closed in the front and modified that. And we're looking to clean that all up. So in the big picture, we want to have one space downstairs with just 1 door. And then we're gonna rebuild the stair off the back of the building. Right now, it's, you have pictures of it in there. It's very dilapidated, it's falling down. It was in the packet, but that's the rear of the building. And get it all enclosed. In the packet I handed to you, the submission, the cover page is what the proposed look at the front elevations is going to be. You can still see in the porch some of the ceiling was the 6-inch center beam, which is pretty common. On the ceilings, the clapboard siding was about 4.5, 4 3/4. We're going to go to like a 5-inch. What I'm proposing is we're going to remove obviously the awnings, the windows off the front. I want to make this look more like it was an enclosed porch, unless like someone just stuck windows in it and closed it. So I basically widened up the enclosure around the front door and made 4 columns. There's 3 equal bays, got rid of the small windows and makes larger format windows on the porch. So it feels more like it was an enclosed porch, which I think will historically feel better than someone just took a porch and put a wall in it and smashed the window. I think this would be a more sensitive way to do it. We're also going to There's a lattice below the porch. We're gonna fill it in with block and we're gonna put brick on to match what's in the chimney. We bought a sample of brick that's here. We were looking at stone, but I suggest that brick might be more sensitive to what the building was. And if you know what the brick chimneys are still there, and we're actually gonna put the brick all the way around. You do see when you first approach the building, in the picture, you do see the front and the side. We're not really changing the sides that much. We're gonna put a brick base in the front and a brick base in the side. We're gonna put a 5-inch hardy white clapboard siding, hardy board to mimic the wood siding, which will last a little longer. We're gonna use a white half round gutter. We're gonna put shutters up. We've shown a panel shutter. I think a louver shutter is probably more historically correct, so we're gonna put a louver shutter up with actually the real hardware sets on there with the S and the hinges and the S hooks. So it looks like it's historic. We're gonna restore, this trim band up top, the cornice was never quite detailed or got lost over the year. Brooks has the building next door. Got a nice handsome cornice line, comes right down to the window with some corbels. I'm gonna mimic a smaller version of that. So it looks like it's talking to that building a little bit. And we're gonna re-roof everything with a black granite asphalt shingle. Throw some flower boxes in the front for seasonal flowers, and then I did a landscaping plan. I was told that we cared about landscaping. So I consulted the native planting chair for the Rumsfeld Garden Club. And we're gonna get rid of, right now, you come down, it's kind of crappy. There's one step, which is always a tripper, and then there's 3 steps, which is a tripper. I'm gonna rip that all out and do 2 and 2. Get rid of the rotting wood board along the street, put a nice brick edge down there. And then I did a landscaping plan. It's a little bit confusing, but it's symmetrical. There's basically 12 by 12, 12 foot by 12 foot sections on either side of the front. Keep that fairly symmetrical. But it's a mixture of native hydrangea, azalea, meadow violet, blueberry. Basically, it's a habitat. I want to make it look like it was plantings that would be there 100 years ago. It's habitat for eastern goldfinch, which is a state bird. The meadow violet is a state flower. We're using some of those. The blueberry bush is a state fruit. And it's also habitat for the black swallowtail butterfly.
That's gonna all fit in there?
Yes, but you can see all the circles in there. So, and it's all designed to be the right height and colors, and we put a lot of thought into it. We're gonna rip out, there's a lot of overgrowth in the site. It's never been taken care of. There's ivy and old maple trees and stuff. We're gonna put an oak tree back there and clean that all up, and we're gonna put some grasses back for a low maintenance area off to the side. But basically, the whole front of the building should be nice. It should be symmetrical. I think it'll be a compliment to the building. And I think the approach will be nice. We're gonna do a nice brick walkway with herringbone pattern in the middle. And I think that'll be an improvement over the concrete walk and the one step that's too steep and the.
Tell the board about the way in which you organize the steps, because I think that's a big improvement.
Yeah, right now you come 3 steps right out of the building, and then you take like 3 or 4 steps, and there's one oversized step right at the street. And generally, 1 step is always a tripper because people don't see it a lot of times. So you want to do 2 if you can. So I'm splitting it 2 and 2, and it's going to allow us to actually drop the grade right on the street, so we can actually landscape right to the street. So we don't have to have a little retaining wall there. We're originally going to build like a little brick wall there, and it seemed like a little bit too heavy-handed. I think it'd be a little more natural if we just made it all come down a little quicker. It'll look more natural, easier to build, and I think it'll fit in a little better. We are. That's basically what we're doing. The site, cleaning up the back of this site. I know we don't care as much about the back, but we're making it barrier-free, accessible, handicap spaces, and we go before the planning board for that. We put a ramp in the back of the building. There was only 1 bathroom in this building, even though there was 4 different tenants, so you had to go outside and go up a door to the 2nd floor bathroom, which was crazy. So we're putting a real bathroom upstairs, a real bathroom downstairs. I think it's gonna be a much better use. It'll actually be less intensive use parking wise. I think it'll look nice. And that's basically our whole application. I gave you a picture of the front, a picture of the rear, what that floor staircase is gonna look like. I gave you the existing floor plans for the 1st floor and 2nd floor. I gave you a marker drawing of what the apartments would look like on the second floor. It's a one-bedroom apartment. It's got some nice cathedral ceilings back there. We're gonna put some power ties, so there's some exposed. We're leaving the chimneys that go up to the roof. So those are still gonna be there. We're not using them for anything, but they look nice in the roof.
What about the railing for the front? How are they gonna look?
I'm not gonna need the railings. I'm only doing 2 steps and 2 steps.
Oh, okay,
So if you have more than 2 steps, you're required to have a handrail. This is actually a guardrail, which is not required unless you're more than 30 inches. But I'm gonna berm the adjacent grade on the side of it. It's gonna be up against the brick, so it's gonna feel more natural. So
okay.
we shouldn't have to introduce the handrail. If they decide they want to add a small piece of wrought iron, it'll just be a handrail and not a guardrail. And I think it'll match in much nicer than the wrought iron one that's there right now.
And what did you say about the shutters? Are they gonna be the original, shutters with the,
The shutters would be louvered shutters.
louvered shutters?
Yeah.
Okay, movable, louvered, the old fashioned?
Yeah, with the old fashioned hardwood, that's.
Yeah.
What's under the vinyl siding now? Is it a clapboard or is it?
Yeah, you can see the original siding is still in those porches, so in that enclosed porch, you can go there today, we were just looking at it half an hour ago.
On the inside?
On the inside, and shows the original columns, which were a little bit small, but that was probably the prettiest part of the building, was the porch. And then it shows the 4.5 inch clapboard siding, and it showed the center bead, normal 6 inch center bead, which we're gonna try to mimic on the eaves and probably just keep it the ceiling of the porch. We may take it out and put it right back, it's just to see, there's a lot of damage in the building, it's never really been taken care of, so
But you're gonna be re-siding it, using is it a 4-inch hardy board?
Yeah, 5 inch, yeah.
5-inch hardy board, okay. And one question I did have also with regard to the eaves, because I see existing, it's, that's sort of, 1980s-ish, I shouldn't even say 1980s, which we were talking about before it's like the vinyl sided
The vinyl siding.
eaves, that have sort of the crease in the middle. I see you're doing gutters and doing some other things. Is that gonna be maintained or is that gonna be modified? Is it gonna be something redone on the eaves?
We're gonna modify it.
And, because I don't think it's depicted in the illustration.
Yeah,
exactly.
no, we're doing everything else, we wouldn't do something old in the top.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be maintained, but again, there wasn't any detail on that, so what's the idea on that?
We're gonna mimic, the center bead that was on the porch, but what would have been naturally in the soffit, I think there, so.
Okay. Is that also gonna be at a hardy board as well?
Or center bead, AZAC is a
Some type-
product that it will last forever, when it's painted up, it'll look nice.
It's all too, so it's good, the thin sheet.
Yeah, instead of just a clip-on piece of crappy, it'll be a much more substantial, the idea is to make it look like the center bead.
Yeah.
Board that was there.
I mean, it's a great plan, I mean, it's a huge improvement, I mean, everything that you guys picked up are exactly the type of things that we would sort of be pressing an applicant on. You indicate also, and there is a description of a fight pond, the corbels. I hope that, and you said you're gonna mimic something, another building, I hope it's not the one to the left if you're looking, it's.
No, there's not many good examples.
There are a couple across the street that are
Yeah.
kind of, that are indicated in, I think it's your one,
Yeah.
for your fifth photo, sixth photo, that are sort of an Italianate style. You can kind of see them, this photo I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's 774. That's how the
Yeah, we did that building.
Yes, is that sort of the style that you're? looking
Yeah, a smaller version of that, yes. I'm gonna see how wide I can get that cornice board and bring it right down on top of the windows and make it part of the window head trim. I think it needs a little bit something there. I'm hoping I can get it up to 8 inches and then whatever feels appropriate there, has a little bit of detail in it.
Would you like to do a singular corbel or double corbels?
I'm thinking singular, maybe fairly small, but, I know there's examples of both. My only fear about the doubles, I think I need a little more height to make that, pull that
All
off,
right,
so.
What's the story? I know you're not touching the side. What's the story behind that?
I don't know.
Glassy looking.
Yeah, I'm not sure that, that looks like it's a 1970s window.
Oh, never mind.
I try to keep something from every part of keep something from the building. I debated moving that around to the back, that window.
this one? This one?
Yeah.
You think that's from the 1970s? Because there's a lot of houses like
Yeah.
in the historic district that have an identical house,
If that,
identical window.
if that window is old, I'm gonna take it, move around the back to, on the back elevation, I have a lavatory that faces the parking lot, which I want a little bit of privacy, and I can move that window there.
Is that anywhere located near stairs on the inside? Because that's generally where that window existed. They used to put it on.
Yeah,
the
no,
land.
Backs up to nothing.
It backs up to nothing, I don't know why it's there.
They actually put
I can leave the window there, I don't,
No, I don't think, it's sort of oddly placed. And you
Yeah,
don't even really notice it.
it's not very, the side elevation is not really purposeful,
And then I see that you have this accessory building in the back, that looks like it was probably redone in the 60s or 70s. It looks like the only thing that's different is the flower boxes. I'm looking for photo versus.
yeah, also the roof line has changed.
Oh, it has, okay.
We're gonna, I think I showed you,
Yeah, maybe I just.
before and after picture of it, so. We're just gonna fix it up, we're gonna make that match the same siding and
Got it,
roofing,
got it, got it.
and then put a little hip roof. So it looks like it all matches. I could have done a gable, but the pitch doesn't match the front, so I figured just leave it a hip. At least make all the materials will match the front and the back, so they're at least complementary. And, yeah, right now, it's two separate office spaces, it's gonna be combined in one, we're gonna put a bathroom in there, so.
Is some portion of that you think original to the house?
I don't think so. I don't think so, but I mean, I don't know for sure. There's definitely the piece to the right was added on afterwards. And, but it wasn't added on very well, so.
And what's the manufacturer and design of the brick veneer you guys are proposing? That's gonna be a huge improvement too.
Yeah, this is what we found, a carriage house right now. I bought a sample of it. This has a, not the right, joint on there, but that's something like. But we're still looking for brick, so we look back something that looks like it's old and misfired a little bit.
And again, keeping the chimneys is excellent as well. Okay, certainly you've got some questions.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, it is going to be a big improvement to the structure. Both in terms of functionality and the appearance of it. The back, and you probably already know, it's not in our jurisdiction anyways, so, but it seems like it's going to have a lot more utility and it makes a lot more sense. I had a few quick questions. One is with the shutters. So you're going to use hinges and not drill them into the siding, or are you gonna have the actual shutter dogs and pivot hinges for them?
We're gonna buy the operational shutter,
Oh, great.
the operational ones, leave them mounted. I mean, they'll be fixed, but we're gonna use the high zip to operate them.
Okay, oh, great. And what do you see those being made out of?
I think they come like a black, it's a black wood, I think. Yeah,
Well, I don't know, are they PVC or are they wood or are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find the nice design on plat. We usually have to go to a wood one.
Yeah. I mean, Timberlane makes them, but I think they call it enduring, if that was an issue for you, where you, longevity. But it's also at a premium price. I'm not pushing for it.
Yeah, I mean, we only need 3 sets of them, so I think we can afford it, but the best one there, if you want a really good one, you usually have to go for a wooden one.
Yeah.
Especially if you get a good movable mover.
Yeah,
You have a little flexibity, you have like that solid.
That's what my builder told me, I should use Timberlane, and I have like almost 30 sets of windows.
right.
Shoot me.
Yeah.
And so, and I think the idea of trying to bring the front, was a porch more back into that character, makes a lot of sense. But my one point or thought there was that the paneled things that kind of look like columns are obviously much wider than what would have been there originally. And I guess if there was any recommendation here of doing something to thin up, maybe make the column thinner and do some kind of panel before you hit the window if you needed that kind of space, because it does look a little.
I've been trying to narrow them up. I agree, they could be a little bit narrower, so.
I think it would be more in proportion. I don't know what that might
Do you
be.
have a dimension?
But something, that 10 inches.
Yeah, that's why I started penalizing them just to make them look like they're more broken up, but yeah, they're probably like 16 inches right now, they're probably closer to 12 or 10. So,
I think that would, help to pull off that.
Mhm.
a little bit more.
yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, I said the original columns were very small, I was surprised, but they,
So like probably 9 inches.
yeah, it was 8 or 9, yeah.
And then again, the corbels you have is 8 inches, but probably need a little bit more detail, since that's such an important element of the house, it's gonna be so visible. Just a little bit more detail, if it's gonna be an Italianate style, we call them an S, which I know is just that traditional S corbel. Can we get some kind of a, again, I don't want, you guys have credibility in terms of what you're doing, and I trust a lot of what you're doing, but just in terms of our decisions in the past and having to get a little specificity, both probably with the size or some limitation on the size of these front panels. And then just some description as far as the corbels more than just a
Yeah.
9-inch S. So what can you tell us that I can put in a memorandum of action? I want to give you flexibility,
Right,
but I also have to have some limitation or specificity in there as well.
yeah, I could get that something submitted to you within a week or so or less.
If you want to tell us now, I'd be happy to just integrate it.
I think he needs to do some research and find out how big the freeze board is up there.
Yeah, I really don't know, I've got to take some more measurements of,
Whether they're, corbels or modillions, they're a little bit different shapes.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, any other questions, comments, thoughts? From the audience?
I really like what you proposed, it'd be a nice addition.
Hmm.
And
It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be fantastic.
Motion?
Yeah.
On having
Sure.
a little seating out.
I make a motion that we approve this,
you know
application.
what?
Seating.
I
Go
second.
ahead.
We actually, we put a little bench out there and a little bird bath.
Yes, we want some limitations on the production, that information.
As a subject tiers.
Yeah.
Chair, but with the caveat that, thinner, panel or non-panel piers will be integrated into the front porch.
That's all right.
And then some detail as far as the corbel to be supplied, but again, I don't want to limit you, so. I'll second the motion.
Mr. Conrad,
Yes.
Mrs. Drummond.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Schluter,
Yes.
Mrs. Priscilla.
Yes.
Thank you
Great,
very much.
great.
Thank you.
Roll that, you guys do, it'd be great.
I appreciate it.
Excuse me, when are you starting?
So you have to go through a planning board first also, but we've already got a demo, so we're looking at fixing all the inside stuff now, but
Great, good luck.
it's going right now.
Yeah,
Excellent.
A couple more hoops to run.
it's gonna be great. I love it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
It's gonna be great.
This can be nice.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, they did, right, it's that Avery's.
But it's nice, I mean, they're doing enough, they not only make it look better, but also make it more sustainable in terms of.
Yeah.
function.
But it's gonna look so much better. Oh my God, it's gonna be great. I'm so happy.
And the front landscaping is gonna look much
Yeah.
better too.
Right.
Okay, so we have old business, which brings us to the ladies that are sitting in front, because most of our old business has to do with Bicentennial Hall, this chapel, and our old business that we really had ongoing, and Tracy, I'm blocked by a column here, but had to do with the Pavliv restoration plan and the restoration plan, the competing restoration plan that was presented. Maybe we can get an update on that. I know there was a kind of a flurry of activity that went on after
There
our
was.
last decision, so
Yeah.
was the
And I
determination made?
realize the whole commission wasn't on those emails for, obviously, there's sunshine rules that prohibit that, but, Art, myself, Sheila was probably on some of them, if not all. We made every effort to create a window of opportunity for this body to receive the two proposals so that you would have a chance to review them and provide comment in the form of a recommendation or a question or really or even take the next step and speak to the professionals on your own, or your secretary could do that for you, and then formulate a position based on your review. Unfortunately, that window was not provided, and, I can tell you that, it's certainly within your role to be able to comment on those sorts of professional documents that are gonna guide, ongoing work, but, the cost difference between the Goldstein proposal and I will say the Laura Irwin proposal, who is part of the Goldstein firm. With the difference between the two, Pavlov and Goldstein proposal was about $6,200. So we were sort of, it was sort of a losing battle. I don't know that I could have been able, I certainly understand the nature of those two different professionals. And I would have really liked you to have an opportunity to weigh in, Michael, you were on that email, that's right.
Well, I think the context also was that because there was such a disparity between the two, the costs of both proposals, that there was a comparison as to the scope of work and whether or not they were actually presenting actual competing plans, and that determination was made in the affirmative that they were in fact, but there was just that big of a difference in cost.
Yes, that is that's the gist.
And,
I went to the extra just to satisfy myself and really, our chairman and his body, I spoke to Mr. Pavlov and confirmed that his scope of work was very much, like Laura's. And he did have a separate number for additional workshops and public meetings, because he understands the communities involved in this type of work. But that would have been on top of the 7,500. So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
very difficult to make a case.
And you can appreciate obviously the necessity of being fiscally responsible, and that's a cost that, doesn't really, we don't know what the actual value is, and the fact that this commission doesn't lose its guidance in terms of reviewing anything that the Goldstein Group presents in the future. It happened, I don't think that there's any problem with that, and again, it's not a loss by any stretch of the imagination. Hopefully the work that they propose is going to be very good.
And we can anticipate it'll be an extension of what the public report has already provided, and that is gonna update this body and the governing body, but also then that would help to guide whether it's fundraising or work that's recommended by this body to the governing body, that this document will help us stay ahead of deferred maintenance and items falling into sort of disrepair.
Any time frame as to when that update is going to be received?
I don't know when, I don't have an update, but I will get that for you. There isn't anything yet, we've just released the authorization to go ahead, so.
Any other updates with regard to Fisk Chapel?
We could meet this week, right? This is a stakeholder meeting, so we'll have more after that.
Okay. We did receive, Katie, do you have anything since you're leaving? We are in receipt of the June 6th, 2023 CME Associates Arborist Report authored by
Sherry Spiro.
yes, Sherry Spiro, yes, and looks like she did a survey and made some recommendations that all seem very reasonable, and taking into consideration the type of vegetation, the neighbors, and a lot of different things into account, so there doesn't seem to be anything objectionable. I'm sure that everybody took a look at that.
Oh, there is one update, actually, I should report to you that, we had a site meeting with the, owners rep presenting the facilities to look at stepping out the repairs and work that will be taking place at our Centennial Hall, including some of that invasive removal that's in Showers report. And I don't have a date, it's when that is all going to proceed, but imminently, I would assume in a 30-day period, so.
Okay.
The rest of that.
Right. Thank you very much. Do we have any other old business? I do not believe that we do. We have,
I know the Zoom invitation. I don't know.
yeah, that was in error because I was kind of fooling around with the technology. Because I had sent you a subsequent email to see if you wanted me to add it to the agenda to have a discussion about, kind of pick up where we left off last month. Discussing the possibility of using Zoom moving forward.
Quite frankly, I thought that we were just on Zoom. When I saw that, I thought the meeting was.
Now, see, so the technology that we use, that I set up for these meetings is actually through Zoom, the Zoom website. And you set it up as a webinar, and what it allows you to do is select whether you want it to just be your source of audio or video. So that's really what we have used it for, is just a source of audio and video so that I can pull it back up and refer to it when I do minutes.
So it's like a one person, one
It's really-
participant Zoom meeting
Kind of,
using
yeah,
their.
yeah, so I can see who says what, and I can, if I miss, who seconded a motion, I can kind of see. So that's what we've been using it for, anything that's in person only. We do have the ability to select to open it to the public, and that, for example, is what the Environmental Commission does, what the Mayor and Council does. So really, it would just be me technically setting it up differently, and then you would get that invitation as a participant. And it was just a checkbox that I should have deselected that checkbox. So I was trying it for the July meeting, like, okay, how would I set this up for myself?
And the big question last
Yeah.
month was really, it came down to one issue. It was open up Zoom to the public,
Right,
but choose to meet in person. I think this body felt that I think we wanted to be here in person for meetings because of the nature of the kinds of things we review, large
Right.
artifacts. I know it's doable, I've seen it done.
yeah.
But that I think we were discussing that we were definitely open to extending the viewing of it to the public, but that, I don't know, does the council Zoom in? Tracy?
It's called hybrid.
Oh, so you do, so some in person, some like.
Right.
The Environmental Commission chose to do what you're saying, have meetings in person, if like one-off, someone can
Right.
call in, but generally it's open to the public to
Right.
view, but they have to be as a committee.
And
Yeah,
the council,
how problematic is it to just have a Zoom invite for members of the public to
It's not,
participate that way?
it's not typical.
I think that's the
And
best
also, just as a point of reference, the planning board just went through like 2 meetings of discussions about whether or not to use Zoom and how and to what extent. And the end result was that it would be for public only, and that the members would not be using it to Zoom in.
Well, the only thing I would
To
think,
participate in meetings for a lot of reasons that all
Yeah.
kind of got flushed out.
well, I would think that if you have a situation where if you have a sickness or if you have lack of a quorum, you
Yeah.
have professionals here and an application, then I think, members of the commission can participate, but
Yeah.
I would, I'm
It
not
got a
very
little
much. in
tricky
favor.
in trying to identify okay, well, how many times and what if 2 people are sick? And so how
Yeah.
do we determine who's able to do that? And so it kind of got a little.
and I would agree with you,
It
because
got a little bit in the weeds. And so.
it was just the mayor and council, it was an urgent technology that was needed because of COVID. They had to come up with a
Right.
system that made sense, and it made sense.
Right.
And,
Yeah, and ultimately, the most of the members, all but 1, maybe, or 2 of the 9 felt that it was an important enough business and that they should all be here. And that they've never
I
had a
think
problem
that,
with
you
quorum,
kinda-
so they were sort of trying to solve for something that wasn't an issue.
When you rely on Zoom, when you just come, the member being in Zoom, you kind of like limits your discourse a little bit. You're not here, you're not present, you're not.
Right, right.
Well,
That was-
and a lot of what we've done here in the past has been that interaction.
Yeah,
I mean, I can think of a couple things that wasn't a fait accompli or a simple answer. It was like some real kind of dialogue and different eyes around the board. I'm wondering, what is the interaction between the board, the audience, and the public? Are the public, are they gonna be on the?
So at the end, they would be, you can even see my screen, they would be down here.
They would see
allow
you.
you, yeah. And they would
on the
see,
screen that they're viewing, but no one sees them.
right,
And they can ask questions, so they would they'd put like a hand raised motion if
Exactly.
they wanted to ask a question. So when you open it up to the public, they would answer.
Right,
They
so I
raise
would
their
have to
hand.
monitor
We don't
that.
see them.
Correct.
No.
It's just a,
Yeah.
it's just a voice in the dark.
Yeah.
I'd say there's nothing, in my opinion, we move forward and we trial it. There's nothing stopping us from doing a review at the end of the year and saying, how did this work? What would we change?
Sheila, are you talking about using the owl? Yeah, that's what we use right now. Yeah, you would see.
If they choose
They
to.
would see you and you would see them if they chose to. But if not. Got it. So I guess, and I mean, again, I need to, I guess some of the technical aspects of this kind of flushed out, but I believe you turn on these
Yeah.
monitors and that's how you.
Well, maybe we'll find out next month. We'll see how it goes.
I'm just thinking.
And I guess
that-
that's where we're at, deciding whether or not you want to implement that for the next meeting, and then I'll work through.
Yeah, I'm not expecting.
Having done a lot of zoning boards and stuff during COVID,
Yeah,
and also just with their interaction here with the
Yeah.
audience. I just think if you're gonna have that kind of interaction, it should be reciprocal where rather than a voice in the dark,
right,
where they're just like saying whatever and like,
Right.
what is this? I mean, I think there's something about, having that, if it's gonna be that open, it should be
yeah.
both
I do
ways.
think they have the option to have their camera on. Things that
You
I
can't
right.
force that.
Oh, we don't do for council meetings and most of the other meetings that are hybrid, I think, most people don't have their camera on, or that
Yeah.
functionality may be limited on the side. I don't have that part, because you check with Allison.
Yeah, and I think because my day job is literally 7 hours of meetings exactly like that.
Yeah.
Where, it started out with some video, but now everybody's audio, it's definitely developed a whole different skill set. Has skills in how you interrupt each other, how you use your raised hands,
Yeah.
how you convey emotion, how you use I'm gonna share something in a chat, a
Yeah.
visual.
Right.
To the point where when we actually see someone, when they turn their camera on, literally like, no. So,
Maybe I just need some more
so,
exposure to
so that's my point. I said, try it out and you'll see what everybody's cup of tea is with this. And I have, participated in some of the borough meetings where, you know who your comfortable chatters are and who are
Oh,
the
yeah.
workers.
And there are some like older residents who are able to do it. They can even do it they can call in from their phone. They don't actually have.
That's
to-
me.
Yeah, I think that the real benefit to this is just resident engagement, and there might be people, like even for me, there are some meetings like planning board, I'm not always able to attend, but I could listen. If I were, so it does help, I think, for resident engagement involvement.
Sure.
All right, so we'll try it out.
So it's good.
Do you need
Yeah.
to, like, make
Yeah.
anything, or can we just do it?
I think we just do it. It's
Okay.
not really by way of application.
Got it.
I don't think we did that.
Okay, it's tricky.
We may want to modify it too.
Oh.
We have to take a vote to modify it, so we're not gonna be that.
Okay, terrific.
Right, do you
But I
need,
will make.
do you need a computer to be able to do this on Zoom?
You won't, because you'll be here, right?
Yes.
Oh, what if I'm home?
Well,
That's only like, that's kind of a precedent that we don't want to set.
Right.
We want to kind of,
Yeah.
because you get much more out
So
of
remember
it.
that.
But obviously, if we needed a quorum and you're really ill, or something like that, it's, you know, it's the alternative.
Sit in the car and that moves your phone.
The alternative is, so we had to carry an application. We had to carry the alternative of carrying an application.
Yeah.
We had to do it by Zoom, we get a form.
Yeah, I'm just not good at this stuff.
You don't need to be. You just-
It's all right, we'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I. For a second.
We had a second.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Drummond?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Schluter?
I wasn't here last.
And I can see all kinds of.
And Mr. Prisora?
Yes.
It was my wife's.
There is all that construction going on across the street, sort of diagonally across you, that sort of house with a big,
Oh,
they're
Yeah.
putting out a new roof. I don't know if anybody's
everything,
noticed
yeah.
that.
I'm dying to see what.
I'd love to, it would be
Yeah,
nice if we
wouldn't
had
that be
some
nice?
idea about what's going on
Yeah.
there. Apparently.
They didn't have to come here.
I have no idea. I mean, I walked the dog there and I see all the construction. It looks like they're just putting up what was there. So I
Yeah.
suspect that was it. But usually we have lesser projects that
Yeah.
come before us. So
Yeah.
it does seem a little bit surprising all that's going on. Putting on siding, windows,
Oh.
yeah, roof,
Yeah, wait a
How'd they
second.
bypass that?
you know, just, it just happens.
Do you have the authority do we have authority to drop a letter, say, hey, we noticed you're working on this?
We probably do. It's diagonally, it's on Fairhaven Road.
Yeah.
It's usually zoning.
It would be.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just assumed that they had gone before somebody, not us, but somebody. They must have gone
Must have had to have gotten a
to,
building.
what's his
permit.
name, the,
Nick,
Nick, yeah,
yeah.
Poroshinsky or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
you just don't want to be surprised.
Well, I think that, the reason, looking at it, it looks like they're just replacing exactly what
Yeah.
was there. So to kind of alert Nick and then run through that whole process of the potential of a stop work order, all that seems a bit overreaching. But obviously, if there's something that's done that, that's a proper amount of work, then of course, there would be a question as to why they didn't come before the commission first. Maybe not the most efficient way of handling it. But, since the work is almost done already, it seems a little bit,
But how do they get the permits without having to come, if they're in the district?
I don't know. Again, it seemed to happen pretty quick, but.
The new owner, is it a new neighbor?
I have no idea.
Do you know which house?
I don't know who they are.
You know which house?
Yeah, I know the house, but I don't pay attention because I figured they didn't need to come before us and they,
I think you might need it to decide.
that would be a first.
No, I didn't have to get a permit to renew my felony.
I don't think.
If it's just
But it's just
like
replacement.
replace, that's not bad.
But when you go through to windows and things like that,
Okay.
you're supposed to.
We shall see.
Well, maybe I
Which
should take a
property is it?
look down there.
You know
I
Beaver's Lane,
don't walk anywhere.
Yeah,
it's not the house on the corner, but the one just closer to the river on the same side. That's
Yeah.
Beaver's Lane. It's kind of like, probably like a 1940s-ish. Almost like a Cape Coddy type
that's,
house.
Scott Thompson's mom's old house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that definitely should have come before us.
We'll see how it plays out.
Well, like you said, if they're just replacing stuff with lighting.
Which that's what it seems like is happening. All right, motion. Oh, yes, we have something from the audience, yes.
Tracy Cole, 1 grade. Does the commission have all of its appointees in order? Are there any remaining vacancies? I do know Scott.
There are 2, yes, and I've alerted the mayor about that.
Okay,
And I guess he's got a lot on his plate as far as different organizations and committees that he's filling and I've advised of some people that have expressed interest to me of joining the commission as well.
okay. And if ever we can help facilitate in our liaison, we'll just let Michael or I know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we'd like to have a full slate of people, so if you have
Yeah.
people that are interested, absolutely
and
promote
people
that.
that know a little bit about architecture. I mean,
Yeah.
that would help.
And,
And that people that will show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, the bar is low, because a pulse and everything.
I have one other small report, and this is really just to continue to keep this commission advised of the progress at, 21 Fairhaven Road. There has been a committee appointed, myself and Councilman Borough are on the committee to really facilitate and lead the process. And this body will be kept apprised of the committee's work as it's in the historic district. We see several phases of work, phase 1 being site stabilization, sort of safety issues. So, just so I think you already know, you've already acknowledged that the house will be removed. There'll be some light tree work to make sure that what's there is safe. Maybe even, and then of course there'll be some backfill and regrading. It's not for public use. And I'm just gonna take every opportunity to say that, so, people have been,
For now or in the future?
right now, it's not for public use.
Oh, no, it's not safe,
Yeah, it's not safe, and even after the site stabilization phase, it still won't be for public use because even if it is, it would have to be a degree, obviously, we don't know how to qualify that at the moment, so, we'll probably have to get some legal guidance on for that, but, just so that there's shared understanding. It's not for public use at this time. Anyway, there'll be a series of phases. We'll make sure that you're apprised of those phases, and more to come.
How many people are on that committee?
So, 9 residents have been appointed. There's 2 council people, the mayor. And we've identified, one of the first things, myself and Councilman Albert met recently, we've identified all the key, local, county, and state and not-for-profit sort of bodies or agencies that we will have to keep in the loop. Historic Preservation Commission, Environmental Commission, the Planning Board will have a review role at a certain point. The Tree Commission will be kept up to date as any tree work happens there. The county will obviously have a role, county planning commission has to review any conceptual level work for things that are down the pipe, but, the DEP has several agency oversight, you know, so, and then even at the state level, there's some others, but
Are there people that live in the historic district that are on the committee? Okay,
and a lot of the names are new to me, so, I'll meet them and we'll get to know each other, but, I know that there are at least 1 or 2 people at the Fairhaven Road.
Live right around there.
that would
Because I know those people
be good.
expressed significant interest in,
Yeah.
you know,
Parking.
over everything, it's the use,
So they've already
intensity,
shut down the
everything.
parking coming in.
Yeah, so, and a lot of people here say, like, I know that you understand this process, there's a planning process, right? What we do is a lot of data collection, and it's a lot of analysis to understand what, for example, the traffic impact assessments could look like, what are the parking needs, how does this affect the business district, how do these 2 things connect, how much intensity tilts things in a negative direction, what are we doing? These are all big questions that require a lot of data and assessment work. And so the first really couple phases is that, and nothing's gonna happen quickly here. There's too much time.
And Tracy, were you on the council when the same process was put in for the Williams Robar Park? Was it the same thing?
It was not the same thing.
It was a different scale, I
That's
think.
why it is the way it is, you know, I mean, it's a lovely park,
Yeah.
and it still has some wonderful things yet to come. But it isn't done. To find out that they include public participation. That this will happen.
That's why I asked. I didn't remember those phases during that. Hang on. Okay.
All right, anything else? Motion to close.
Second.
The cool-
Mr. Conrad,
Yes.
Mrs. Drummond,
Yes,
Mr. Henderson,
Yes.
Mr. Schlitter,
Yes.
Mr. Larkin.
yes.
There's a 1970s hovercraft on that property.
Yeah.